Bunny hopping. If you've been playing games on PC for a while, you've probably heard of bunny hopping, and if you haven't heard of it, you've probably seen it.
The ultimate TF2 movement guide.
Bunny hopping. Mostly in Source games, this is a jumping technique that can be used to gain momentum, leading to increased movement speeds or maintaining the same speed or a little faster while also strafing, which is essentially moving about in the air like a crazy person so the enemy can't hit you, except in this case it just looks like you're jumping like a crazy person, but in reality you know exactly what you're doing. Bunny hopping, or bee hopping, some people say bopping, but we just don't talk about them. Back in the day it was most known in arena shooters and Counter-Strike. You could get insane speeds and everyone was at such a high skill level that a microplay of movement could determine the outcome of a game. There are various methods of bunny hopping, depending what engine you're in. In most arena shooters you can use the A and D keys to move about, but a lot of the more skilled pro players move around by only holding the W key and strafe with just their mouse. But we won't get into that in this video, we'll be looking at the Source engine. My favourite. Like I said previously, bunny hopping is currently most known in CSGO, but this was after a big change. Bunny hopping was changed in Counter-Strike Source to casualize the game, to allow an easy learning curve for new players, or at least that's what people speculate. The changes were even more harsh when it came to CSGO. Changes caused landing the hops to be even more unreliable and needed to be more accurate. In addition, landing the hops too well would increase your speed and it would hit a threshold, which was about a speed of 300 CSGO speed. When you reach this speed threshold, your character will basically trip up and go even slower than actually running with a knife originally. This means that you need to bunny hop at a speed that is below the threshold but fast enough for it to be worthwhile in the first place. This makes it incredibly difficult to do consistently unless you're very experienced, and even then it won't have as much of a payoff as it once did. But you don't need to worry about that because it works slightly differently in TF2, but we aren't quite there yet. As bunny hopping steered away from the main game, especially in CSGO, maps specifically for bunny hopping were made and have existed for years, in each iteration of almost every Source game, and you can find these by searching bhop in your server browser. These maps have different tiers of difficulty and are on TF2, CSGO, CSS, Gmod and many more. These maps can help you train your bunny hopping, and server commands mean you don't need to worry about that speed sweet spot that's in CSGO, and you can get faster and faster and faster until you mess up yourself. At first, the easy maps teach you how to bunny hop consistently and how to gain speed. The harder the maps get, the more movement speed and dexterity with jumping is learned, which you can apply to strafing within the main game, which I usually just use to approach or run away from someone. After you've mastered these maps, it isn't really about learning anymore, but testing yourself. I remember coming back from secondary school, going on a bunny hop server and trying to beat my records of maps to the second or millisecond. Although at this point the skills are less applicable to the main game, there's something satisfying about repeating something over and over trying to master it, and there's no better competitor than yourself. When you're at this stage, you'll feel a lot more comfortable and confident bunny hopping. You won't really think about it. In your mind it'll just be another way of moving about the map. So let's get into how exactly you bunny hop. This tutorial will work for TF2, CSGO and most Source games. Most people bunny hop with their scroll wheel, but I'll get into that later. For starters, load up to a server with auto hop. These include some surf servers and bunny hop or death run maps. Auto hop means that you can just hold down your spacebar and continue jumping. This is what jumping used to always be like in those old arena shooters. Find a large flat space on the map to practice. Press W and space at the same time and let go of W while looking forward. You'll see that you bounce along in a straight line forever, even though you're not holding down forward anymore. This movement is what bunny hopping is based on. You can't keep holding down W in this form of bunny hopping or you won't be able to gain momentum and speed. There are methods which involve W, but you should have mastered this way first before you learned them. Now that you've let go of W, look right or left with your mouse. For the sake of this video, let's say you look left. Hold the A key while looking left as you come up from the jump. This is where you're gaining speed and momentum. Keep holding A and looking left until you hit the floor again. As soon as you hit the floor, you'll bounce back up again due to the auto jump. Hold D to move right, while looking right with your mouse this time, moving your finger further right as the jump progresses. When you land again, swap back to A and left, and repeat this over and over again. You'll move in a snake-like pattern. This is the easiest bunny hopping method, and once you've got this down, you'll have a great understanding of the way it works. But if it doesn't make sense, along with anything else in this video, just leave a comment down below and I'll try and help you out as much as I can. If you're practicing these techniques on the bunny hop server in a straight line, you can try and complete that map using this technique. I recommend bop_easy. It starts off fairly easy, but it will soon test you and gets harder and harder. By the time you complete the map, which might not be the first time you try it, you will have an adept understanding of how to bunny hop. One useful tip that you might find fun with bunny hopping on servers with unlimited momentum and auto hop is that you can gain incredible speeds by spinning in a circle. For example, moving left with your mouse and holding A or vice versa, and then when you start moving your mouse left, you'll be able to spring forward at great speeds. You might find that your mouse hits the edge of your mouse mat, in which case you can just quickly move it back or do a figure of 8 movement instead of a circle. This obviously can't be done in normal games, but it's quite fun to zoom across bunny hop maps with. Okay, now you've got bunny hopping with auto jump down, it's time to learn how to apply this to real servers. You'll notice that because there's no auto hop in real servers, you can't bunny hop anymore, and trying to press jump at the exact right time just doesn't have the same effect. All your hard work has been wasted. Don't worry, if you bind your mouse wheel to jump in the console by typing bind M-wheel up or M-wheel down depending on your preference, plus jump, you will jump every time you scroll in that direction. Now, try doing what you've learnt in the auto jump servers, but instead of holding space, when you're about to land, scroll with your scroll wheel in the right direction. If you do it right, you'll bounce right back up as if you were on an auto jump server. This is because as every notch in your scroll wheel turns, it tells the game to jump. So by turning the scroll wheel as fast as you can by landing, your game will be receiving loads of messages to jump. This might be tricky, you might need a lot of time to practice. I myself find bunny hopping with a scroll wheel a lot harder than auto hopping, as it requires just that little bit more effort and concentration. If you feel like you're doing everything but you still can't bunny hop with a scroll wheel, try spinning your scroll wheel more and faster when you land. This will send more messages to your game for your character to jump. Now, you might be thinking, that's great, I can bunny hop now, but I can't change weapons with my scroll wheel anymore. Well, don't worry. If you can get used to only cycling through your weapons with the opposite way to which you bound your scroll wheel to jump. This might be a bit fiddly to do though. If that's the case, you can try and get used to changing weapons with the numbers on your keyboard. I could never get used to doing this, but apparently it's what the pro players do anyway. If this isn't for you either, but you enjoy bunny hopping, you could just stick to those auto jump servers on bunny hop maps, or maybe switch between binding your scroll wheel to jump and exchange weapons depending on what class you're playing. For example, bunny hopping on a market garden soldier with a scroll wheel isn't bad at all. You only have 2 weapons, so you can just press the Q button to swap between the spade and the rocket jumper. To be honest, I don't usually bunny hop in normal TF2 games myself. I do in CSGO though. Hehe. It just isn't for me. TF2 has too many weapons to be switching between, and I'm stuck in my habits of not being able to change them without using the scroll wheel, so I'd rather save bunny hopping for other games. But that's not to say bunny hopping on TF2 isn't really fun, and it can be really beneficial. In a perfect world, I would develop my own mouse but with 2 scroll wheels, one for bunny hopping and one for changing weapons. There are also advanced strategies for bunny hopping in TF2. As the spy, it can be very useful for escaping from enemy areas, or confusing the team about where you've gone after you've cloaked. It can be great for avoiding scouts as the sniper, and will always be a fun way to get out of spawn. The best use that I've seen, however, is bunny hopping while market gardening. This is an exploit which allows you to land a market garden critical hit even after touching the floor. If you bunny hop straight from a rocket jump, the game thinks you are still airborne. So if you hit someone while in a bunny hop jump after a rocket jump, you'll get a critical hit, just like a normal market garden. This is really hard to do, and I'm always really impressed if I see anyone pull it off. Although this is technically an exploit, it doesn't seem to be frowned upon. This kinda confuses me. Why is this exploit fine, but the item, map or movement exploits that Delphi finds frowned upon? Is it because Delphi's exploits are bigger? How small does an exploit need to be acceptable? Is it because bunny hopping after a market garden requires skill? It may take skill, but is also still abusing the engine and confusing new players. Finding map exploits and item exploits is a skill in itself anyway. Where do we draw the line with exploits, and who does it? In my opinion, I don't mind exploits. If someone's smart enough to find one, props to them. As long as they aren't completely game changing, I don't really mind. It should be down to the devs of a game to make an exploit-free game, and after all, bunny hopping itself is technically an exploitation of the engine, and if that was taken away, look what we could have missed out on. I hope you learned something from this video, and if not, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to subscribe, a like will be really appreciated. If you want to be in a video, follow me on Twitter and join my Discord in the description. I'm trying to find new ways to get you guys involved. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you later. 3 uploads a week, by the way.